Okay, so now we're gonna take a look at how I assembled my model. First of all, everything is sub-assemblies. Collapse items here so you can see. Again, we have step 1, step 2, all the way through all the steps. I'm gonna open up that sub-assembly so you can see it's just one layer, or two layers rather, of logs, and that's just your base to start with. And you can see I just started with started with this first timber, and I just went this way, and the way that I made them in there is I showed my planes. If they're not shown already, you can click right here under view. You can see how they're already mated together, obviously, but they're mated in such a way that they're perpendicular right on these planes, so that if I wanted to add another one in there, I would just use my automatic mate reference to mate it to this surface here. Notice how when I clicked over here, it actually clicked a plane and there's stuff in the way. So the same actually applies when you're using your mate references. So when I'm dragging this in here, I kind of have to have this angle looking up so that I have a view, so to speak, of the surface that I'm trying to mate to. So when I drag in my timber, it actually does find that surface, and see, it wants to mate the surfaces automatically. And then all I have to do is mate the planes together. And so since I want it to go perpendicular to this one, I would select this plane and select this plane, and by default they go coincident. Select this plane and this plane, by default they go coincident. Now I am sure that there is a way to use the mate references so that when you pull it in here, it mates the two surfaces together and it mates these two planes together. I tried and failed, so I leave you with the challenge. If you can do that, show me how, and I'll work out some kind of extra points for you. So that's how I put the blocks together. It's as simple as that. You don't need any more instruction than that to put logs together. The spacing is simply 3 inches apart, so when you're mating this one down to the floor, you can actually use this plane and use this plane and just make them 3 inches apart. Even though they're not actually connected, you can still mate them together, and then just use the bottom surfaces. In fact, I'll click on this one so you can see if I can click on it, so you can see the mates that I used. So I mated it to the floor, which is the bottom of this one, and then I mated it to the end of this one to get it in position, and then I made a distance made between the two planes. And just for good measure, I'm going to delete this one so I don't mess up my assembly. And I'm going to say don't save. Now for that pretty much takes care of steps all concerning logs. So we'll go to the steps page. So that's how you make each subassembly for each step. I guess it's better shown over here. So we have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and that's the gist of all those steps. Now to do the roof with chimney subassembly, I used a little bit of trickery that I want to show you because this could come in handy later. So I'm going to open up that subassembly, and right away, if you're paying attention, let's get rid of the shadow. You'll see that I have a roof support here, but it's not colored in like the rest of the parts, and I have that hidden. In fact, I have it more than hidden. I have it excluded from the bill of material too. You can see as I put my mouse over it, it gives me that window, and you can see excluded from bill of material. If I expand this, you can see that it gives me what I did. I'm going to show the component, and then I'm going to show the properties. What I did is I excluded it from the bill of materials in the properties window right here by clicking this box, and then I hid the component by clicking this box. Now I already unhid it earlier, so what I did is I started with my roof slat, and that was the first part of my assembly, and I actually opened up the roof slat and then just hit make a new assembly from part. So that's the first part of my assembly. Then I added my first roof slat on the top. I'll show you the mates that I used. So we started out with a width mate, and I actually didn't show you the second. I made a pattern of that roof support, and I patterned it over 3 inches so that I have the part that my roof is going on to start with, so I get this angle right. That's really my concern, is to get this angle correct. So there are other ways to do that, but that's the way I decided to do it. And then when it was all said and done, I simply selected both of these using the control key, went to properties, excluded them both from the bill of materials, and then I hit them both. Doing that. Okay, so let's look at the mates that we used. So first one was a width mate using the planes of the 2 roof supports. Second one was a coincident right on the slope of the roof support. Next was, well, that's mating the next one in. That's the one I wanted to see. See how I have. See, that's not right. See, for some reason that got lost. I had a mate up here that was a point mated to this surface here, and that gave me where my roof started. Somehow that got lost in the course of me making it, so I'm going to replace it here. So I'm just choosing this very top point on top of my roof support, and then I'm choosing the surface on the edge of the plank, and that allows me to mate that perfectly on there. What happened was, when I placed this fillet on there after the fact, because I wasn't getting a proper edge in here when I was rendering, I must have lost that mate that was making that coincidence. So there you go, that's how it's done. And then of course you just mate the chimney right on top. Coincident, coincident, and then width. Alright, so that's the trick to making the roof subassembly. I won't even save because it came out fine. Now the planks are obvious. It's just one plank, and I just patterned it over a distance of 1.0625, which is the width of the plank, so that they're right next to each other. And I just did that 5 times, and that gave me a flat roof. Now, in the default configuration, which you're looking at right there, I made a single exploded view that may look familiar. It's, if I change from perspective, this is the same view that I used on the drawing on the top assembly. So you can see the similarities obviously are there. It's the same exact exploded view that I used to make my exploded view on my top assembly drawing. And I'll go to the all steps, and what I did on this one was a little bit different. I started on step 6. The reason I started on step 6 is because it has all of the components. It just has one step basically raised up, and that's the roof elements that have been lifted to show that that's the last step that you're doing in the thing. So to go to the next step, all I did was create, for this step all it was the default template with a new exploded view, just taking these 3 sub-assemblies up. So I edit the feature, and you see it's just one simple exploded step. So the next step I did was step 5, and as you can see, the roof assemblies are gone, and now we've got this new exploded view that shows the 5th step. And the way that I got rid of the roof assemblies is I came over here to the main family table, and I right click on the subassembly. If I'm going to do it on one that's not suppressed yet, and that's what I did. I suppressed it. I right clicked, and I came up here and I chose suppress. And what that does is it not only hides it, but it suppresses all the mates associated with it, and everything, all the properties that are associated with that. Like even the weight of it isn't counted anymore when you take the properties, which we're going to do later. And then when I right click, and I can unsuppress it. So that's what I've done in each successive step backwards. I've started at step 6, and I go to step 5, I suppress what I don't want to show, and then I make an exploded view of the last step being dragged up. So now I go to step 4, you'll see again, I have an exploded view there of just step 4 exploded. Step 3, same thing, just step 3 exploded. And I go on down the line. Step 2, that's the only one that's exploded. All the way down to step 1. Now obviously step 1 doesn't need an exploded view, it's just that's all it is. So that's how I did it. I made all of these extra configurations of the assembly, and I simply started with step 6, I made a new configuration, named it step 6, and it has all the components already. I made one exploded view, simple step, that's how I created all of these views here. Steps. So each of these views is the same model. It's just a different configuration. So if I wanted to show step 2 in this, I could just right click and choose step 2. Notice that now it shows step 2 not in exploded view, so I have to right click again, go to properties, and show an exploded state. And now it shows the same as step 2. Now I'm going to change that back to step 1. For some reason it doesn't let me choose, well, because there is no exploded view in step 1. So, and I just went on down the line, and again I made the coloring by selecting the view I want to look at. Then I go back over here to my family tree. I open up so that I can see the different subassemblies, and I see step 1. I'm going to select step 1, left click I mean, and then I'm going to change it back to black, because that's what I like. I don't like the pink. Okay, so now it's pretty obvious how to make these steps. Each subassembly was placed into the drawing template, and bill of material was created. I've already gone through that, I believe. So I think you've got everything you need to know about assembly. So now you can move on to the next tint, which is some details about the drawing itself. Thank you.